Alright, so do you know someone in a 3D printing that you don't have gifts for? This is a quick holiday guide for 3D printers, people in the 3D printing hobby. So, first thing that's obvious is the 3D printer itself. This is about 220 something bucks. It's the Ender 3 Pro model. The Pro model has things like a magnetic bed, redesigned Z limit switch, which is a pretty big deal because this is a main failure point for people new to the hobby. They set them too high and you can't level the beds ever, and then they go, in Creality, tech support's kind of hard to get into contact with. So this is the recommended printer for newbies. Even better is the V2, but it's closer to $300. And there's minor upgrades, like they flip this upside down so the SD card is right here, the USB port there. On the older Crealities, the $150 versions, they're down here. And you get a brand name power supply. Power supplies on the other Enders are fine, so it's not a big deal. Next thing, obvious, filament itself. This is PETG by Hatchbox. I would not recommend that. You're better off using PLA if they're newer to the hobby. And you're going to want the 1.75 millimeter filament. This is the new standard. So, the older, cheaper filaments that you see with the wider diameter, they're cheaper for a reason, and it's because they're obsolete. So, let's get into the less obvious things. What I would do, Wise cams. These are awesome. They are security cameras, basically, indoor. But you're not really using them for security when you're 3D printing. What you're doing is you're monitoring your prints from anywhere in the world through the WiseCam app. And if you have an Amazon show, you can check on your 3D prints from anywhere in the house, which is awesome. And these only go for about 20 bucks. Next up is, I'll just go in order here. These are nozzles for a 3D printer. You inject molten plastic through these to print your parts. So these clog up all the time. The plastic crystallizes in there, and they're just a pain in the butt to unclog. You can unclog these, but they're so cheap that it's not worth the time. I just toss them. These are two clogged ones. Here's a little baggie I bought, 25 for $8. So you can see that it's not worth your time to mess with that. And if you're going to buy someone a bag of nozzles, you're better off buying brass. Don't buy the hardened ones unless you know for a fact that they're running a harder filament, like a wood filament or a carbon fiber filament. And you're going to want 0.4 millimeter diameter on the hole in there. In a related note, these are acupuncture needles in 0.4 millimeter diameter. You probably can guess what they're going to be used for. When you heat up your nozzles, when they're clogged, you can use an acupuncture needle, small set of these. These are a couple bucks. They help you unclog the nozzles. You just run them through there and get the molten plastic out of the hole there and try to extrude it out on the next print. It works sometimes, but it's good enough to just have them laying around. I have them laying around. I have hundreds of these. Next things, flush cuts. When you buy an Ender, they come with these cheap little ones. They're okay, but they wear out and they kind of suck. So you're better off going to Harbor Freight and buying them. The Harbor Freight ones have a lifetime warranty, and it's about 10 bucks. So if you know someone that's into 3D printing, you don't have a gift for them, get them a pair of flush cuts from Harbor Freight with the lifetime warranty, 10 bucks, and Harbor Freight will cover it for you. Next thing is, in the Harbor Freight area, is one of these. It is a heat gun. Don't buy a hairdryer. They don't work for this application. So when you print materials such as PETG, like this green filament here, you can actually see that there are a little bit of hairs left over. It's known as stringing in the hobby. So you can flush cut each individual hair off, but just like having a haircut, there's a little bit poking through the surface. So what you're better off doing is you hit your prints with the heat gun and they come out smooth. So that's real simple. Next up, when you buy filament, it comes in vacuum sealed rolls like this, right? So this right here is 2.2 pounds worth of filament. You're going to print a whole bunch of junk with that. So what do you do when you don't use the whole roll and you don't want it sitting out like that, because it's hydroscopic, so it's sucking up moisture, and that's when you get holes in your prints. I don't have anything here because I live in a desert, so it doesn't matter. But especially now in the winter, you're going to get little holes. It's going to look like a sponge when you print. So the best way to remedy that is a filament dryer. You actually store your filament in here, and you cook it for about 24 hours at 80 degrees Celsius. We run Celsius in 3D printing, and it takes all the moisture out of that. You can actually see that. I store my black PLA in one of these Sunlu units. Most people use food dehydrators. These are about 80 bucks. Food dehydrators are about $30. These work better. They're purpose built for a 3D printer, and they hold the filament spool a lot better. It's vertical. You can get like 4 of these and run them, and you can store your filament or dry your filament out. When you're done drying, this is another weird one: food saver and these Walmart bags. So when I open filament, I print with it, and I want to store it. I cook it in the dryer here. Then I reseal it just like that, the other filament that you saw, with these items here. So as far as 3D printing goes, that's what I recommend for 2020 gift giving. So to recap, for a 3D printer for your high budget, Prusa probably all the way. Medium budget, I'd probably go with the Ender 3 V2. Low budget, I would go with the Ender 3 Pro model. This is what this model is. It's running fine. Sorry, it's a mess. I run that thing 24/7. This is a rare break. Then you want the nozzles for it. Brass, 0.4 millimeter. If you search Creality Ender 3, you'll be able to find these on Amazon. The Ender 3 is the standardized model for lower budget printers. It's under $300. It's all Creality. Acupuncture needles, is a toss-in. Great stocking stuffer. Filament itself, remember, you don't want PETG for a newbie. You want PLA. And 1.75 millimeter filament, and they come in 1 kilogram spools, 2.2 pounds. That's about enough for a week of printing 24/7, and generally, depending on what you're printing. But for me, that runs a week. So if you want to buy 2 kilograms, they're about $20 a spool, and you can get like cardboard spools. You're gonna want to stick to plastic. They're a little bit better. It costs a little more, but they're better. Nozzles, obviously, $8 for 25. I probably paid a little more than what these usually go for. You can probably get them cheaper. 10 nozzles will be great for someone that doesn't 3D print as often as I do. I go 24/7 all the time. The Wise Cam, it's a great idea for monitoring your 3D prints off-site. I love it, and also, if you're upstairs gaming or something, you can just, throw the Wise Cam image on your phone and see how long you have on the print. When you print, it actually says, I'm not sure if you can see that, it actually displays how many hours you have left on your printer. And this is in standby mode. It's not doing anything, but so I'll tell you 3 hours left in your print. So you can check that with the Wise Cam, or see if you're having issues like spaghettiing or excess stringing, or like this one. This failed, bed adhesion issues. So it actually peeled up off of the bed and it fell off. So that's why this is an incomplete unit, but I use it to hold trash. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, comment down below. I will have links in the description as well for all this stuff. I'm not sponsored. I'm just a guy into 3D printing, so let me know. This channel is not monetized, so no stress.